Corporate dollars and podcasting. The latest from podnews.net with Libsyn. Stop dreaming, start podcasting.
What I think I was naive to, and maybe we all were, is that corporate dollars will inherently change how we do things, how we make things, what gets made, why things get made. And what I saw is a lot of that money that Spotify specifically, but other people who were investing in podcasts were going towards people who hadn't made podcasts and then hired the people who had made them to work for those people. And now, however many years later, the rent is due. And it didn't pan out.
Rebecca Sananes is on the Pod News Weekly Review this week, following her article in Vanity Fair. You'll hear how she was hired to work with Harry and Meghan, why there aren't enough women in podcasting, and what she wants to do next. You'll find the Pod News Weekly Review wherever you get your podcasts. Edison Research revealed the Kids Podcast Listener Report. 29% of kids aged 6 to 12 in the US are monthly podcast listeners. 87% of them have shared something they learnt from a podcast with others. The report is free to download. Capsho has announced Creative Studio, a new product suite to help repurpose long-form content into video assets. The AI-powered tool automatically extracts short, shareable excerpts to help promote shows across social media. In the UK, Octave IP has signed a deal to sell advertising for selected podcasts owned and operated by SiriusXM and Stitcher Media. And writing for Pod News, senior generation marketing expert Jeff Ostroff suggests that how many downloads have you got is the wrong question to be asking indie podcasters. Meanwhile, Danny Brown suggests that it takes a lot of work for indie podcasters to continue, let alone succeed at podcasting. And that commitment deserves its own rewards. Answering the findability and fundability questions is a great starting place, he says. You'll find both of those linked from our show notes and our newsletter at podnews.net. In People News, citing an increase in podcast marketing and audience growth services, the Podglomerate has promoted Madison Richards to Senior Manager of Marketing and Audience Development. And in podcast news, there's more to that is new from Smithsonian Magazine and PRX, discovering the forces behind some of the biggest issues of our time and giving curious listeners a fresh understanding of the world we all inhabit. One episode available now delves into the backstories of two blockbuster movies, Oppenheimer and Barbie. Your next podcast is a new podcast with a new idea. Each episode recommends a new podcast and includes episode 1, and you're then encouraged to keep listening on the show's main feed. It's presented by Lauren Layfield and is from Podcast Rex. And Generation AI, Automating Better Business, is a new podcast from LivePerson, a company that works with conversational AI. Each episode tackles the most exciting developments in AI and the ways it can drive business outcomes. This podcast is sponsored by Libsyn. Are you ready to tell your story? Libsyn has an all-in-one, fast, easy podcast tool that allows you to plan, record, and create your podcast today. Stop dreaming, start podcasting with Libsyn, Libsyn.com. And that's the latest from our newsletter. To read all the stories and subscribe, we're at podnews.net.